Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Being that it is now 7:01 p.m., we're going to call to order the meeting of the Board of Selectmen for Wednesday, May 25th. The first order we will be taking up is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is approval of regular session meeting minutes and approval of executive session meeting minutes. I'm going to ask that we table these meeting minutes, being that we do not have a quorum of Board of Selectmen members who are present at the meetings in question. And the meetings that we have minutes for are May 10th, April 25th, March 21st, and May 3rd. And do we need a motion to table the minutes or no?
So moved. Second.
Quentin, you want to pull the board?
Second Miller?
Yes.
Second Decker?
Yes.
Second Dudley?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is employee recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so we have a couple of, actually three individuals that we'd like to recognize this evening. However, our police officers are not able to attend, so we're going to ask that we put off Officer Perry and Sergeant Wheeler until our June 13th meeting. However, we do have here this evening Dispatcher Rebecca Prefontaine, and if she could come forward with Director Linsky.
Good evening.
Yeah.
All right, so we're here with Dispatcher Rebecca Prefontaine tonight. Back on May 5th, I'll actually read you a brief letter, just so I don't miss any of the details. Rebecca Prefontaine received a call from another police agency indicating a possible suicidal male. The agency indicated that the caller and the subject in question both resided in Webster, and thus referred the incident to us. Becky was able to quickly contact the original caller, who had reason to believe that the male was located in the other jurisdiction. Her next course of action very easily could have been to refer it back to the original jurisdiction. However, her concern for the well-being of the stranger outweighed the jurisdictional boundaries. Becky was able to quickly determine that the subject in question was likely not going to receive the attention needed in his time of need from the other agency. Becky, without delay, proceeded to contact the male's cell phone carrier to initiate a ping on his cell phone in an attempt to locate him. That ping placed the phone in the general vicinity reported by the caller. Agencies responsible for that general area were contacted to respond while additional pings were conducted. Subsequent pings placed the phone in the same general area, including one very near where he was believed to be. The ability to take those pings, combined with the use of Google Earth, allowed her to identify a possible location and access point with which she was familiar to locate the male. Shortly later, a Mass State Trooper arrived in the area and located the male in a vehicle. He was right where he was believed to be by the initial caller. The trooper's initial observations indicated the male appeared to be unresponsive. However, he was later determined to be conscious and alert. Rebecca's ability to act quickly and outside the box while disregarding jurisdictional boundaries in the interest of life safety undoubtedly saved a life on that day. Had she not been able to lead first responders to the male's location in a short amount of time, the male quite possibly would have completed his attempt. So we were very, very thankful that Becky was able to handle this call in the manner that she did. Many times something like this would have been referred right back to the other agency where it was believed to be taking place. But as I said, Becky was quickly able to determine that this gentleman's best attempt at life was going to be through our agency. So.
Becky was also very recently selected to receive the Central Mass EMS Communications Award for her professionalism and talent in radio dispatching, as well as her push for implementation of emergency medical dispatching, and EMD, we've all heard that term, while a dispatcher in Oxford. She received her award on Tuesday, May 3rd, at UMass Medical School Amphitheater. So again, we think it's important when our employees go above and beyond, which obviously in this recognition and by her peers and also with this assisting this gentleman is amazing, and we feel that she should be recognized for that. So thank you, Becky. Thank you very much.
What I'd like to do is give her a standing ovation.
And I do want to thank the board for taking the time to recognize her as well. I hope we have other dispatchers that we can have recognized in the future. You know, stuff like this actually happens on a very common basis, and a lot of times it goes unnoticed. It's just assumed to be part of the job. Certainly this one stands out, where the person appeared to have been actually in the act of attempting, and the fact that our agency was able to, you know, in some respects, prevent a catastrophe for another agency, you know, certainly puts it above and beyond the normal course of duty. So,
Excellent.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I said, we'll put off Officer Perry and Sergeant Wheeler until June 13th.
Okay. So then moving forward, we have Point Breeze Restaurant for transfer of license application.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Attorney Carolyn Conway on behalf of the applicant, the Fresh Chef Incorporated, and I have with me tonight Mr. James Alkier, who is going to be the 100% owner of the Fresh Chef Incorporated and also the manager of record. I know all of you know Mr. Alkier and that he's been involved with Point Breeze for many years. He has been acting as the manager, and now has the opportunity to buy not only the business but also all of the real estate. The transaction is set forth fully in the application, and you'll see that we have two lenders, one of whom is seeking a pledge of the license, and we're going to ask the board to vote on that. We're looking to pledge the license to Hometown Bank, which is also giving the mortgage for the premises. So other than that, the operation is going to continue as is. It's typically the type of nothing's broken, so we're not going to fix it. We just want to consummate the sale transaction and going along. We're just hoping to keep everything up.
Well, AJ's no stranger to anyone here.
Yes,
He donates a lot to the community and food share. And,
Thank you, Mark.
you know, anything. I looked through the application, everything looked fine. I'd make a motion to approve.
Did you, I'll second it, but for discussion, did you want two motions on that, on the pledge and then the transfer?
I just want to make sure, because sometimes
Just as a matter of record.
Yes, if we could, just to make sure it gets on the Form 43, because a lot of times if there's not a separate vote, they send it back. There is a corporate vote asking for it, so
So I'll add that.
better
to the
safe
motion.
than sorry.
Sure. I'll add that to the motion.
On the pledge
The
and then
pledge,
for the,
yeah.
okay, second.
All right. So then Courtney, you want to poll the board?
Yes.
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 Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Next up on the agenda, we have a request from Waterfront Mary's for outdoor entertainment extension request, and I do believe we have a representative from WXLO here.
It's my first time here, so I hope I can answer all your questions. My name is Pat Racine, and I've been working with WXLO 100 FM The Pike in Nash Icon 98.9 for 16 years. And in the past, we started an event called Rock the Dock that we do. We actually started it at Point Breeze. And in 2004, I left the radio station and came back in 2006. At that point, the event was actually moved over to Waterfront Mary's. When I came back and took the account over and I found out it was over at Waterfront Mary's, there was a lot of things that I guess she had to do. There was a lot of issues that were going on, and her and I worked together to straighten out those issues and bring the event back up to par. It's a 2-hour after-work party that we do from 5 to 7 on Wednesday nights. Tracy has done everything that she's supposed to do. She's really worked hard, you know, to get everything back on track. The event's very successful, as just came from it tonight. The deck is packed out there, inside and out. We play music, we just play some games, we have some fun. Now what we want to do is we have one of our other radio stations, 100 FM The Pike. We are doing some Pike Beach parties. And one of the places that we're doing the Pike Beach parties is down at Indian Ranch. And what we want to do is we want to bring this down to Waterfront Mary's. This event would be one Friday night a month. And the dates that I have that we're proposing is June 24th, July 7th or July 22nd, August 5th, and September 16th. So we'd like to do one a month, and we'd like to bring our DJ down, basically the same thing, play some games, have some fun with the people. And I know there's an issue because of many years I've been down there with people calling and saying our music was too loud, and so what she had to do is my understanding was she had to hire an officer to come down there. The officer's down there. Every week I go down, I check in with the officers over the years, and we haven't seemed to have any problems. There's a few times we had some phone calls from some of the neighbors saying the music was too loud. We went outside, we talked to the officer, and he said, no, everything is fine. So I know we're gonna have a few people here and there that are gonna, you know, not gonna be happy with it, but, you know, it's a Friday night. We're not looking to do this all night. We're looking to do this when it's nice out on our tiki deck. You know, we'd be happy to work around you. We're proposing to her like a 5 to 8 o'clock. And if that's a little bit too late for the town of Webster, we'd like to do it 5 to 7:30. Just kind of have them come down there once a month. Another thing that is concerning to her is the fact that she has to always pay for a detail. So we're asking, because of the history with the radio station and all these years that we've been there and we've proven ourselves, we're asking that she's able to do this event without having to have the extra expense of hiring a detailed officer there. If there is any problems, I mean, I'm always on site. They could always call down there. They can talk to her. I can go right down and tell the DJ, turn the music down. But we haven't had that happen, you know, and we've had somebody down there every single week. There is a parking issue down there because we draw a lot of people to these events. And I was just down there tonight, and there's really not a lot of places to park over there. They put up signs now that we're not allowed to park during those couple hours on either side of the street. I don't know why, and I guess I'm just trying to find out what is it that we can do to bring this event, you know, down to Waterfront Mary's throughout the summer. People love it. I mean, if you guys have never been down there, I'm highly suggesting you come on down and see what we do, you know, see what it's all about. I know that she's had a history in the past, I guess before I came on board, but since I've been there, I work my butt off to bring people a 2-hour event after work that they can just go and have some fun and win tickets to some of the big name concerts and, you know, go to, you know, a racetrack and go have some fun. We work hard. We really, really work hard to bring a lot of people here. And since we've had no problems, I'm here to represent her to see if we can do it again, do it with the Pike, and what we need to do to make it happen.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think the
Lieutenant.
young lady, I just wanted to mention, I think another thing with the parking problem was because of the attraction or the event. Some of the neighbors, of course, couldn't get through, or, God forbid, there'd be an emergency, like for an ambulance or a fire truck. I've been down there, not to that event, the chairman takes care of that for us. But that's not, that's okay. But the idea of it is, especially around some of those corners, as you know, it's quite tight, even if there's no traffic on it.
What about one side of the street?
No, we tried all that at one time, and it just got to the point where one person parks there, everybody follows, and you have a problem.
Okay.
So I'm nothing against Tracy, believe me,
Yes,
we
I
get
know,
along
I
very
know.
well.
I know.
Maybe at one time we didn't, it was just a misunderstanding, I'm sure, but she's doing okay, and I wish her well.
She has.
As far as the neighbors, I know they have a lot of concerns. I know a few doors away, you might have somebody that they do have particular illness, and I know sometime if they've called me years gone by, I could hear the music and they were behind closed doors. And that's probably about, I'm just gonna say a couple 100 feet away. So I know there's something there, but I would, if I would, you know, fairness to all the neighbors and even your event, and I'm not disapproving it. What I'm saying is you probably still might want to get somebody, maybe Lieutenant Shaw could help us out on that, to get a detail. I think it would be safer. I can't answer for the lieutenant, but please, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
absolutely.
Mr. Chairman.
I was going to ask Lieutenant Shaw to
Come
speak.
help me out. Tell me what we can do.
Just to echo what you said,
Yeah.
we had a lot of issues down there a few years ago, and I think that it's definitely 110% better than it was. And I think a big part of that is because we have the detail there. Parking is a huge problem.
It is.
And the officer that's there, you know, unfortunately it works out, it's the officer, he's usually the same one that works it, so he knows the problem areas, and he directs people and knows the customers that come. I think it's a big part of the success of that is having him there and having a police officer there. I'm afraid that if we don't have a detail there, we would start to have some of the problems that we had in the past in the parking lot. People, you know, he still does have issues. I was there one time with some people that showed up from another place that were intoxicated. Didn't happen at your establishment or one
Yeah, okay.
but you know, they showed up there and they were causing a problem, and we had to remove them. And it's nice, you know, he can ask people to leave. He has that power as a police officer to ask people to leave, and I think that's an important part of it, to have him there.
Okay, and that's something she has to pay for. It's not something that somebody would come down and
No,
be there.
we're-
And
we're-
I'm just asking
yeah.
for it. Because she spends a lot of money on these events.
Sure.
too.
When the acting town administrator first approached us with this, you know, we had really no issue with it as long as you have that police officer there, because it kind of keeps people honest and keeps things in check. And I think that's part of why it's been such a success over the last several years.
Is there any suggestions, like, on where people can park? On what they
It is
can?
what it is.
Yeah, I know.
It's a
I
tough
know.
So, and just
It
to
is.
echo what the lieutenant said, we used to get complaints all the time, and we were ready to not allow any outdoor entertainment. The only reason why we did was the condition was to have a police officer, and when that happened, everything stopped, we had no more complaints. So I'd be in agreement with extending to Friday,
Mhm.
but I would also want a police officer, because I know that the first event, we're gonna get phone calls.
Okay.
So, you know, if it's worth your while to do it with a police officer, I'm all for it.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'd, just to keep a little bit, at least just to try it at this particular stage to see what happens, I'd like to, if I could, amend, say, the hours, say, from 5 to 7:30, like you had mentioned before.
Yeah, right.
This way, in case you have a little run over or something like that, you know,
I got it.
people have
Yeah.
enough time to bail out and get home, you know?
Yeah.
Quietly, we hope.
We'll
Thank
keep it,
you.
we'll keep it good. We'll
That's-
keep it
That-
good.
That's my motion.
Second.
So we're good as long as she gets detail?
Right.
And 5 to
And
7:30,
now-
once a month.
So
Okay,
we-
but I have a
Well, it hasn't
question.
been voted on yet, so.
So we have a motion and second.
Oh, wow.
Any discussion? Any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
now you're all set.
Now you're all set.
Okay, now, quick question, because I've never been here before to do this. So once we figure out what the actual date will be for July, do I email you guys, like I emailed you to come here, and then you'll know the dates, the definite dates that we have? Okay,
Because you had, what, June 24th? Excuse me, through the chair.
yeah, June 24th,
And either July 7th or 22nd.
July 8th or 22nd.
Oh, 8th,
Yeah,
okay. August 5th, September 16th, am I
Yep.
correct?
those are them.
Thank you.
Good,
Thank
okay,
you.
thanks, guys, girls, ladies, appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Next on the agenda, we have the fiscal year 2017 utility rate presentation.
Can I do it from here? As per the charter, the Board of Selectmen also serves as the sewer and water commissioners. And as such, part of your responsibilities are to set the utility rates each fiscal year. I have passed out 3 separate handouts. One of them is just the presentation. If you want to make notes or anything like that, these are all the slides. The other 2 are the sewer and water proposed budgets, proposed revenues, proposed budgets, and the proposed sewer budget was given to the Finance Committee last evening, and it also includes indirect costs and the personnel data spreadsheets. So, okay, Greg. Not Ellen. Yeah. So our fiscal 17 water staffing levels have not changed since last year, other than the removal of a .33 of our town engineer planner. Mr. Charpentier's salary was allocated a third between the general fund, sewer fund, and water fund, so that has been removed because there is no plan to replace him in this year's budget. Mr. Roberts' salary, Greg's salary, is also allocated between the 3, general fund, sewer fund, and water fund, a third. Our water superintendent, of course, right now, Mr. Kraus, is a water ops. He's not an employee of the town. I do have his commitment. He is on contract with the town of Webster through at least December 31st, 2016, and I will get down on my knees and beg him to stay longer. The operations manager was formally divided 50% sewer fund, 50% water fund. It's now currently 100% budgeted for in the water fund. Our chief chemist, Mr. Loftus, over in the sewer fund, has taken on operations manager responsibilities on the sewer side since we closed the lab over at the wastewater treatment facility a little over a year ago. And we have 1 administrative assistant. Our DPW union staff, we have a working foreman operator. Everyone, I think, knows Mr. Patterson. He works about 100 hours a week and is very committed to his job, does a great job. And also 3 full-time water maintenance operators. These gentlemen are in the process of becoming more and more, taking more and more tests to become certified, bringing up their levels of certifications, their distribution and treatment licenses, knowing that, or hoping that, the town will be constructing a new water treatment facility and they'll require different licensing for that. So they are being proactive in that regard. So getting right into it, FY17 rate calculation. Currently, our water rate is $47.36 per 1,000 cubic feet. Our sewer rate is $77.28 per 1,000 cubic feet. The FY17 proposed budget plus indirect costs are $2,626,681. And you can see there on the screen the FY17 estimated revenues. Betterments and water liens, those are the amounts that were actually committed on our fiscal 2016 actual real estate commitment in December. I'm using those for estimates for next year. Our connection fees are year-to-date fiscal 16, and our other departmental revenue is also year-to-date fiscal 16. So the revenue we're required to generate from user charges would be $2,245,493. Our total water consumption for fiscal 16 is 44,008 cubic feet. So there's a calculation down there on the bottom of the screen where you come up with, this is a pure rate increase. We would need to increase the water rates by 8% with a pure rate increase in order to cover our expenses for fiscal 17. That would make the rate per 1,000 cubic feet $51.15. Again, an 8% increase from $47.36 to $51.15 per 1,000 cubic feet. You see here the analysis, the proposed budget with the estimated revenues, and what this would do for an average single-family bill. And as I've stated in the past, I do use someone we all know, the average family, 2 adults, 2 children, teenagers. Currently, that average bill per quarter is $94.72. That would increase to $102.30 per quarter, $30.32 annually. That is one scenario that I have for you. Another scenario that I have for you, and I have included in the packet with the water enterprise funds, I have included the pure 8% rate increase. I've also included a 3% increase, which I will show you here on the screen, with a $100,000 transfer from retained earnings. My estimate is that retained earnings will be certified sufficient to cover any of these proposed transfers. Not on the PowerPoint presentation, but I have also included in your packets a 2% increase, which would require a $120,000 transfer from retained earnings, and a 1% rate increase. That would require a $150,000 transfer from retained earnings as a supplement. So again, the 3% increase would require a $100,000 transfer from retained earnings. Here's the calculation again. The rate would go from $47.36 per 1,000 cubic feet that it currently is to $48.78 per 1,000 cubic feet. And that would result in the average single family bill would increase from $94.72 to $97.56 per quarter, and that's $11.36 annually. Again, I've provided for the board's review the pure 8%, 3% with a $100,000 transfer, 2% with a $120,000 transfer, and 1% with a $150,000 transfer. Now, when you're reviewing this, please keep in mind, let's go through the sewer. The recommendation for sewer is a 0% increase in sewer rates this year. So please keep that in mind and you consider how much you would like to increase the water rates. So the fiscal 17 sewer staffing levels are non-union management staff. Again, Mr. Roberts' position is budgeted 1/3 in the sewer department. We have a full-time sewer superintendent, a full-time chief of maintenance, a full-time chief chemist who has taken on the responsibilities of the operations manager, and we have 1 administrative assistant. Our union staff at the wastewater treatment facility, we have 3 senior operators, we have 2 attendants, we have 2 maintenance employees, and we have 2 maintenance mechanic employees. The town of Dudley, as you recall, does reimburse us for those debt costs related to the wastewater treatment facility at the rate of 17%. We currently have 3 projects that the town of Dudley reimburses us for. The wastewater treatment facility planning project. The FY17 debt for that project is scheduled for principal and interest, a payment of $122,193.76. 17% of that is $22,772.94. And we have the upgrades to the wastewater treatment facility, phases 1 and 2. And you can see there on the screen the calculations. Debt including principal and interest, and 17% of those costs and Dudley's share, which they reimburse us. So the calculation itself The FY16 rate, as I said, is $77.28 per 1,000 cubic feet. The FY17 proposed budget plus indirect costs of $4,531,846. Betterments and sewer liens, those are actuals that were committed for this fiscal year on our actual commitment in December. Connection fees to date, Dudley operating costs is $38,500 per month is what Dudley reimburses us. The Dudley debt reimbursement, again, the calculation was on the previous screen of that $141,001. If you recall, we also have entered into an IMA very recently with the town of Oxford. And currently, year-to-date, that revenue is $14,333 and other departmental revenue. There is no transfer from retained earnings needed. And the revenue required from user charges, $3,330,725. FY16 total water and sewer consumption is $44,008. Second meter consumption, because that is purely water, it's not related to sewer at all. That's a second meter, a deduct meter we call it, and you don't get billed sewer for that meter. It's strictly water usage. So the total water and sewer consumption, you have to reduce it by the amount of the second meter consumption, so that brings you down to a net sewer consumption only of 44,004.90 thousand cubic feet. Again, the calculation on the bottom of the screen, and you can see there that calculation is that the sewer rate would need to be at least $75.69. That is 98% of what our rate currently is, of $77.28. So again, the recommendation is for a 0% increase for the sewer budget. And currently, that average single-family bill is $154.56 per quarter, and it would remain that way. And that average was based on a fourth quarter consumption. Are there any questions?
Do we have any recommendations from the board on the water rate? Whether we want to do a 2%, 3%?
What do we have for retained earnings in water?
Nothing right now. We're waiting for them to be
You
certified.
assume.
But I have calculated them, and my calculation, they will be sufficient to cover any of these scenarios. And I'm confident in that.
Well, the condition of our water we've had the last year, I'm not looking at an 8% increase. So I would make a motion, we do a 1% increase with 150, taking out of retained earnings. And we'll see how everything goes next year with the water taking, as long as we're comfortable with that.
And again, this debt does not include any debt that if the town meeting does approve the authorization for the construction funds for the treatment plant, that debt won't come online till fiscal, at least fiscal 18, possibly fiscal 19.
So this will get us through, and we can start the ice pigging program again, and hopefully get most of the town clean.
The ice picking is scheduled already, and it will be, there are sufficient funds in the operating budget to cover that, and that will probably occur August, September.
So that's my motion.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And do we have any recommendations on the sewer budget increase?
It says zero.
That's an easy one, right?
Zero. Yeah, it's kind of,
That's an easy vote.
we'll
Yes.
keep it at zero, Mr. Chairman.
So we have a
That's
motion,
my motion.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? And Courtney, you want to poll the board?
Yes.
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 Mr. Chairman, I apologize. Would you be willing to entertain questions from the audience, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have any
Are
questions?
there any questions?
Ms. Mendila?
Yes or no?
Yes.
Come up front.
Yep, you can approach.
First, please forgive me because I don't have my glasses, so I could not actually read most of this. But I just had one quick question. When I look at the last several pages, which seem to be your trial balance for the water, this section here.
That's the budget.
The budget.
The proposed budget.
Yep. It looks like this year's budget is slightly less on the bottom line than last year's budget.
Are you referring to water or sewer?
Water.
Yes.
So if it's slightly less than last year, I'm not understanding why we would need an increase.
Other revenues are less. So, and also,
What other revenues is that? Is that in the budget as well, or is this just the expense section?
no, that's the revenue sheet that you see here.
Okay.
Okay. So, betterments, other revenues, outside of user charges.
Okay.
Betterments, liens, connection fees, sale of meters, and others, that is less than it was this year.
Okay.
So you have to make up the difference.
Yep.
And that, of course, is in the rates. Also, the indirect costs are more.
Okay.
So, all right, that's where that comes.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So seeing that there are no other questions, we'll keep moving on. And do we have acting town administrator's report for tonight or not tonight?
We don't.
Okay.
How's that? That's quick, right? The only thing I would like to say, Mr. Chairman, is Memorial Beach will be opening this weekend, weekends only, through mid-June, but they are opening on Saturday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we will be open, okay?
Excellent. Then under old business, we have Conservation Commission vacancy appointments. I know last meeting we did have two interested parties who were wanting to both serve on the Conservation Commission, and we are waiting to hear back on whether or not we would have one vacancy or two vacancies.
Correct, Courtney?
I was in contact with both Rich Franis and Jeffrey Dugevich. Rich Franis has expressed that he would like reappointment to the Conservation Commission when his term expires June 30th. Jeffrey Dugevich will not be seeking another term. So one is available now, and one will be available as of July 1st.
So does the board have, what's the pleasure of the board on who we would like to appoint effective immediately, and who would we like to appoint effective
I'd
July
make a
1st?
motion for Mr. David Audette.
Second.
And is that to be appointed immediately?
Yes,
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Courtney, you want to pull the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Dugevich?
Yes.
Selectman Gould?
Yes.
Just for this, if I may, just to add that they're both good candidates, just that this one had a little bit more. And they're neighbors too, literally.
And do we have a motion for the
We
other
could-
candidate?
Mr. Franis?
No, for Mr. Bob.
I don't have that one.
For Mr. Rock? Bach. Fred Bach.
Well, do we have two openings?
Yes.
Mr.
His
Franis?
appointment would be effective July 1st.
Correct.
Oh.
So you can
I'd
vote
make
to
a
appoint.
motion
Right.
for Mr. Frederick R. Bach.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
All right, so I'm confused. Is there Mr. Franis plus two openings?
Yes.
Okay. All right, second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And Courtney, you want to pull the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Dugevich?
Yes.
Selectman Gould?
Yes. All right. And you'll notify both of them so that they can get sworn in. Perfect. Next item on the agenda is Board of Selectmen recommendations for the June 6, 2016 special town meeting warrant.
Mr. Chairman, so Article 1 is our normal article to hear and act upon the report and recommendations of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. Do we want to go through all of them? Or do we want to recommend yes or no?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may, through the chair, on these that have like, for example, sum sufficient or transfer appropriate? Do we have, like, unpaid bills? Is there a dollar figure?
Yes,
for
sir.
any of these? Oh.
I'm going to go through all of
Oh,
those now.
super, great. Thank you.
So do you want me to just go through all of them if you have
Just
questions?
put some dollar figures in
Okay,
there.
so for Article 2, there is one unpaid bill. It's in the amount of $96. Articles 3 and 4, the recommendation is going to be to pass over. There are no sewer or water unpaid bills that we're aware of. Article 5, the recommendation is also going to be to pass over. I've reviewed the police department's operating budget, and they do have sufficient funds available, and I have advised them that they will be expected to cover this deficit within their operating budget. Article 6, the recommendation is going to be the transfer of the sum of $22,176 from the town administrator's salary account for the purpose set forth in the article. Article 7, the recommendation is to transfer the sum of $4,620 from the town administrator's salary account for the purpose set forth in the article. Article 8, the recommendation is to transfer the sum of $5,000 from the town office building heating fuel account to the senior center heating fuel account. Article 9, again, retained earnings are not certified yet, as free cash is not also. I have calculated free cash. It is not certified. Based on my estimate, the recommendation will be that the sum of $75,000 be transferred from free cash to the DPW snow and ice supplies account. Article 10, the recommendation is to transfer the sum of $15,000 from the town administrator's salary account to the unemployment compensation account. Article 11, which requires a 2/3 vote. Anything appropriating in or out of the stabilization require a 2/3 vote. So Article 11, this article is reimbursing, you know that we started a number of years ago, commitment to the community that if we borrowed from the stabilization fund that we would return the funds when they were available. So this particular article is reimbursing the stabilization fund for the appropriation that was made out of it to purchase our hovercraft. That article also required that the surplus equipment, the former hovercraft, was sold, and that would offset the cost, which we did. And I apologize. We received $4,550 for the old hovercraft. The new hovercraft was purchased for $44,755. So there is currently $4,795 left in that account. Therefore, the recommendation is to transfer $40,205 from free cash and $4,795, the balance from the fire hovercraft capital account into the stabilization fund. Article 12, this $250,000 was to pay for the 3-year retroactive plus 1 bridge year, if you will, of the police contract that we settled back in September. And the recommendation is to transfer the sum of $250,000 from free cash to the stabilization fund. Article 13, $150,000 to replace 2 sections of roof on the Thompson Road Fire Station. If free cash is certified at a level sufficient to cover this expenditure also, my recommendation is going to be to use free cash. If it is not, however, my recommendation is going to be to transfer from the stabilization fund for this purpose. Article 14, is Mr. Avlis here? No? Okay. This is the second part of the paving and repairs of the grounds up at Bartlett High School. Mr. Avlis and Dr. Malkus came before the school finance committee last night to explain this will complete the project. Last year we appropriated $40,000 and they did what they could with that. And I believe Mr. Avlis has stated that tomorrow evening he will be going before the school committee and requesting that they request $17,408 for this article to complete the project. Again, the only reason why this project up there was able to be completed for this amount of money was because our highway department did all the paving up there. It was our labor that did that, and this is just for the materials. Other than, in this case, they do have some signage that they need to replace and add up there, and that signage with the installation will be done by others. But the paving and sidewalks and all that will be done by our highway department. So the recommendation is to transfer the sum of $17,408 from free cash. And Article 15, myself and the town clerk sponsored this article, and the recommendation is going to be that the town vote to approve the article as read. I did speak with the chairman of the bylaw committee, and he will be taking this article up, and he did say he didn't see any issue with it. It was just removing the requirement for us to post the town meetings on the public access channel. We already do it in the town clerk's office, the library, on the town website. So we're just requesting that be removed from there. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion that we, Articles 3, 4, and 5, pass over for more information. Article 14 and 15, refer to sponsor. On Article 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, we move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Courtney, you want to poll the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Blumer?
Yes. All right, under new business, Selectmen's appointment to the ADA Committee and Worcester County Selectmen's Association. It's my understanding that Selectman Starzak held both of these positions while he was on the board, so we're looking for a replacement. Do we have any
I'll do
nominations?
the ADA. I was on the ADA before, and I'd be happy to do that again if you'd have me.
So moved.
Second. So motion and a second. Any further discussion? Courtney, you want to pull the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Blumer?
Yes. And then we need an appointment for the selectmen to the Worcester County Selectmen's Association.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Jolden.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And Courtney, you want to pull the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Blumer?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we have approval of the future Board of Selectmen's meeting dates for June and August. Have a schedule here.
Well, fine, to me, always subject to change anyways.
I don't have a problem with these dates, Mr. Chairman.
All
Make
right.
a motion to accept these if you wish.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Courtney, you want to pull the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Blumer?
Yes. All right. Next item on the agenda is a vote to authorize the chairman to sign a letter of invitation to prospective towns on behalf of SWAC jointly with the town of Dudley.
I apologize. Director Linsky did email email a draft of a letter. This was discussed by the SWEC Board of Directors. As you know, we have been and will continue to actively invite other communities to join us in our regional dispatch. And we thought that it would be helpful for the selectmen of both communities to reach out to their colleagues in the other communities, the selectmen, and with a letter of invitation. So all this is, Mr. Chairman, is actually a vote to authorize that when we do put that letter together, rather than the whole board, that Chairman Bork can sign on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? If not, Courtney, will you poll the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Chilton?
Yes. Right, then the other item under new business was the Finance Committee Communication Policy discussion. I actually had requested that this item be put on the agenda. However, I'm going to ask that it be moved to the next meeting. That way we have a full panel of Board of Selectmen members here for the discussion. Do we have anything under informational mail?
I got something on the new businesses.
Sure.
Pam, could you get us information on the community compact through the Lieutenant Governor's office? A lot of our communities have joined it, and
Yes.
so we can look at maybe joining.
Yeah, and actually, the Economic Development Committee was looking or asking about that too. So what you have to do is you have to choose, and the Economic Development Committee is very interested in that,
So maybe you give us a
we'll go that way.
report next meeting,
Okay.
possibly.
Sure.
All right.
Anything else under new business? Anything under informational mail? If not, we'll...
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Courtney, you want to poll the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Chilton?
Yes. All right, we're adjourned.
Get a hint.